anything before we imprison or punish them. Thank you, because I forgot to record the class. Thankfully, we just started. So the presumption of innocence, the Magna Carta is a what's the word I'm looking for? The before for that. Precedent. It's a precedent for that.
Precursor?
Yes, it's a precursor, a precedent. Yes, thank you. Now, there is also then another result of this specific clause: no arbitrary justice by government or rulers. You cannot just decide this person is guilty. There is no. Before that, the king can say, "You are ugly, off with your head," or "You are a problem for me, off with your head," and just impart punishment, because the king has his right bestowed upon him by God. So his the enforcement of that God-given right is infinite and absolute, until Magna Carta, until the barons decided, okay, if you keep doing this, that's not gonna fly, and we're going to have civil war. Okay, these are the new rules that we're going to live by. So there is no more arbitrarily dispensing justice, and specifically no more arbitrarily um, dispossessing people of their goods, for example, of their lands, of their goods, of their riches. So, in essence, it limits the power of the king. The king no longer has infinite power. There is a box, and within that box, that's your power. Outside that box, that's not yours anymore. Now, this is also precedent. 400 years later, to justify the accusation of high treason against Charles I, resulting in his execution. So, a document signed in 1215, since it was still valid, it was still a document signed by a previous king, was used as a justification for accusing the king of high treason and for his execution. Now, this was also used by the leaders of the American War of Independence to establish that liberty, based on this specific clause, liberty is the essential birthright of the Englishman, because everybody in the American colonies was an Englishman. They all saw themselves as an Englishman. They were just a colonist. They were just an Englishman in the colonies instead of an Englishman in the British Isles. Afterwards, the American identity, if you believe that even exists, then that came to exist. So at the point where the leaders of the American War of Independence uh, started, they all considered themselves Englishmen. However, they were opposing the crown. Now we have another clause: we will not sell or deny or delay the right of justice to anyone. Hopefully, it was still this is true of everything. Selling justice, meaning just bribing a judge or just bribing the judicial process, or denying justice to someone, just denying the possibility of restitution or of justice, or things like that, or delaying due processes. That's not going to be allowed, because that was something that the king did willy-nilly, because he overextended his power. So with this clause, then we shift into a rights-based system of law, meaning that everybody then has a right to justice, has a right to um, be given justice, to face either a jury or the decision of the king, or some form of judicial process, and that judicial process cannot be just sold, it cannot be just denied, and it cannot be just delayed for whatever reason. You cannot just lock people in a tower anymore, which was very common before. So then we have habeas corpus. Yes, Federico, go ahead.
Hello. This is the same as the right to due process.
In essence, the right to start the due process.
Okay, thank you.
So a precedent, in a way, also. Miss Garcia, what was habeas corpus? Sorry, I forgot.
The right to show the body, literally.
Yeah.
So as you were saying, people were locked in towers and they had the right to see their relatives or see that they were still there.
Isn't isn't habeas corpus like, for example, I accuse someone of having killed someone, and if there is no body, there is no dead person, then there is no actual crime? Or am I mistaking that with another?
I think it's more like I need to see the documents. If I accuse you of killing someone, and you have to, yeah, make the body appear, but it's
Uh-huh.
not used in that context. It's more used to if someone is in jail, especially
Uh-huh.
during the dictatorship. We used that a
Uh-huh.
lot to see if the
Uh-huh.
prisoners were still alive.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, then with this clause, the efficiency in which justice is imparted then also becomes a part of the justice. The being unable to delay processes or being unable to sell processes, making justice efficient is a part of the judicial system, becomes a part of the judicial system. Then again, also the law is available to all. It must be upheld by all, regardless of rank or importance, the basis for the equality of all under the law. So when everybody signed this, it wasn't just the king who signed this. It was all of the other barons and their mustered armies. They all signed this because they were always feuding with each other as well. Sometimes with the permission of the king, sometimes against the wishes of the king, sometimes for blood feud reasons or whatever. But from Magna Carta on, everybody, all of those people in power, all of those landowners, because it wasn't actually everybody at that time, are equal under Magna Carta, under this specific document. And then eventually, that sets a precedent for us today being able to say that the Constitution says the same thing to me as it says of the president, as it says of a rich person, as it says of a person that doesn't have a roof over their head. The Constitution is the same for everybody. That's what equality under the law means. This was also used to justify the impeachment of Bill Clinton. Not We can't deny the process of justice. We can't delay the process of justice. Justice needs to happen. And if it needs to happen, it needs to happen in the processes that in the amount of time that it is supposed to happen. A significant part of Brexit, also of the Brexit debate in the UK, as the government expressly declares it would break international law and looks to abolish the authority of the European Charter of Human Rights. So this is in complete break with Magna Carta itself, which is interesting because Magna Carta is a historical British event. It's a historical English event. But then it is the UK itself that wants to deny that part, deny what that precedent that is Magna Carta set for today, the of equality under the law. Then we have another part that is part of all democratic, the majority of all the majority of democratic systems today, I believe. In the original Magna Carta document, it says that the English Church shall be free and shall have its rights undiminished and its liberties unimpaired. So the king no longer has a right to touch church land or church property or church riches, because the church at this point in time is a major power player. It's bishops are have the same amount of power as a lord, as a baron, as a duke. So depending on on their rank in the church. However, what this is a precedent of is the separation of church and state. Church being in at this moment in 1215, church being church property, church doctrine, church riches, church land. Okay, the king, or essentially the state, because the king is the state, cannot interfere anymore in the church, in church affair. And this also serves as the basis of the formal separation of church and state in the U.S. Constitution and in many other constitutions. This is the precedent. This is the precedent uh, of that characteristic that we have for democracy today and for the respect of spirituality, that the government and the civic state and the religious aspects, there should be two completely separate elements. Not always true. Sometimes in political campaigns we see slogans involving spiritual matters, for example. However, that's technically uh, in my opinion at least, against the law, because church should be separate from state. Now, here's a word you may not have seen before. It says scourge. It says, no scourge or aid shall be levied in our kingdom without its general consent. Something that kings used to like to do and used to have to do a lot was go to war. And war is very expensive. War is very expensive because you have to pay your troops, you have to equip your troops, you have to pay the mercenaries, you have to pay the transport, you have to pay for the food, you have to pay for the weapons, you have to pay for repairs, you have to sustain a logistic trains. All of those things cost money. And what the king used to be able to do was say, give me money. And then people had to give him money. Okay, and then he said, you specifically give me all your money for this war. And then they gave all the money. Otherwise, they would be declared a traitor and just be off with their head. So scuddage or aid are the words that were used for the money that you raise for mustering and preparing an army to go to war and for sustaining that war. And what this clause specifically stops is the king being able to just do that arbitrarily. Now, in order to go to war, there has to be consent, meaning it's not just the king that says, I want to go to war with France because I hate my cousin, so I want to go kill my cousin, or I want to imprison my cousin. And all of the council of barons who or their descendants who signed the Magna Carta, all of them need to actually agree that there is a reason to go to war, that there is a reason enough, that there is a casus belli for war, that there is a reasonable chance, a valid reason, and the actual possibility of going to war. Everybody needs to be, everybody needs to give consent, and there needs to be a consensus. So what this established right then and there when they signed this document was a proto parliament, a group of people besides the king who also had to agree and who also, in a way, made decisions regarding the state. So what this means is that no taxes can be required of people by a king on his own. Each of the barons is now in charge of raising and mastering and the Scottish and the eight. When they all consent, when the council and the king consents, then they all have to. Now they all have to participate. There is no longer the chance to not participate. However, if there is no, uh, let's say, a majority of people who actually see this war as something that needs to be uh, pursued, then okay, sure, you can scream all you want, king, but that's not going to happen. And this specific clause was also used in the American colonies to justify this specific protest. No taxation without representation. Meaning, each baron had to pay a tax to the king. That was part of the normal functioning of the crown. All of the people who were under the king, there is a pyramid scheme where at the bottom you have the serfs, then you have lords, then you have barons, then you have the other name that I keep forgetting, then you have dukes, and then you have the king. Barons, counts, dukes, kings, and the money all flows up. The money all flows to the king. Each of those stages, however, keeps an amount of that money, though. Um, but each of those barons, each of those serfs has a baron, and each of those barons has a count, and each of those counts has a duke. But the American colonies, they didn't have any sort of representation. They were just being taxed for being taxed because they are a colony and they need to provide the resources and riches to the metropolis. So no taxation without representation is the cry, the one of the justifications for the War of Independence. Now, we also have one very simple clause that says, for a trivial offense, a free man shall be fined only in the proportion to the degree of his offense, and for a serious offense, correspondingly. Okay? If it was a trivial offense, like for example, someone felt insulted, then the fine should be a small compensation that reflects the degree of the insult. No longer can the king say, Fulano has insulted someone, off with his head, and by the way, give me all his property. Okay, that's no longer a possibility that the king has. What this means is that there is a proportionality in justice, or there is supposed to be a proportionality in justice, but it's not something that we see. Uh, it's something that could be argued it's not really that much proportional today, especially if we consider the way the punishment we impose to specific groups of people are different from the punishments we inflict to other groups of people for the same crime. Okay, but there is supposed to be a proportionality in justice. Um, the theft of a loaf of bread should not have the same punishment to murder, for example, or treason, for example. Those two things are, even though those two things are offenses, those two things are crimes or whatever, the degree, the proportion of the offense should be taken into account. Next, and this was one of the most common ways for the king to confiscate riches and land and power. If a free man dies intestate, meaning without leaving a testament, intestate means without leaving a testament, his movable goods are to be distributed by his next of kin and friends. Okay? So no longer does the king decide what happens with the property. No longer can the king just decide to appoint himself as overseer of that person's riches, for example. So what this also establishes, then it is the property rights. Your goods, your goods, your land and your movable goods are property, and then there are rights that need to be respected. This specific clause is the establishment of that, and the king cannot just confiscate property after someone died, which was something that was also very commonly done by the king that they made sign Magna Carta. Small exercise here, since we're going to be doing this kind of exercise a lot. What is the narrative here? Who can tell me what the narrative is in the before and after pictures that we have here? Yes, Juan Carlos. The omnipotence is very heavily curtailed. Mr. Andres and then Miss Veronica. Andres, go ahead.
What I can see or understand by the picture is that in the first picture we see the king and the men are bowing to him, like
Mm-hmm.
representing that he is superior to them,
Mm-hmm.
that he holds more than them. And in the second one, they are
Mm-hmm.
all holding an agreement or a document that
Mm-hmm.
they are all equal under that piece of paper.
Yes. Perfect.
So,
Very good. Excellent. If I would, Veronica, go ahead.
Also, what I can tell from the image that before Magna Carta, they were at the king's castle. He was above in a different level. They were all bowing to him, and after that, we can see them all in an even field, like a even field. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody's property, so it's more. Uh, I don't know if justo, but
Yeah. It is made to seem to look that way. Okay, good. Now, small recommendation when we're doing these kinds of exercises. We can read the pictures, and I see that you can read the pictures very easily with the actual significance of the picture. But in the future, I would also like to see more of the examples that you mentioned of the specific. In writing, we would call them phrases or letters or words for signifiers. But when we have them in image, we have placement, gestures, positions of things, and things like that, which you mentioned. In the first image, for example, we have the king above all, everybody bowing to him. What does that signify? Those are the signifiers. What is the meaning that the king is the ruler, that the king that they are either oppressed or submitted or submissive or whatever. And we also have an armed guard in the first picture. So there is also a threat of violence. So armed guard signifier, threat of violence significance. Okay. Both of you also mentioned the positions of things, which is the main signifiers. So very good. And in the second one, we see everybody on the same level, kind of like everybody is like on the same amount of power, so to speak, because we all see them all dressed similarly. Even if the king has a crown that distinguishes him, there is not that much distinguishing him from the rest of the people based on how they are dressed or how they are arranged around this Magna Carta, and everybody is touching the Magna Carta, and this is clearly done by AI. And normally you can know that it is done by AI because of the hands, but
Yeah.
for the purposes of this exercise, we can see that the position of people and the expressions of people signify the equality in a way.
Another thing that we can ask ourselves is what is missing from this picture? What don't we see?
Let's see
Where
if
are all
anybody
the
can get that.
women? Yeah,
A,
go
a
ahead.
threat of violence, maybe?
From the second picture, yes. Isaac, go ahead.
I think one difference that I could see is the throne. The throne signifies the king's position and his sort of authority over them.
Yes, you are correct. Not the answer we're looking for.
Oh,
Naomi?
And a difference I can see is in the first picture we have the war. Besides the king, in the second one there is no more the war for the king.
The card, yes. True, correct. Not the answer we're looking for. The question was, who do we not see in any of these pictures? Who are not relevant in this discussion? I think Federico raised her hand first.
There is not a single woman inside.
Yes, there is one. There is one group of people. Very good, Federico. Would anybody like to try another group of people? Ludmila, go ahead.
Yes, they're all dressed the same, which signifies that they're all basically the same social standing. And so there
Who is
are no
missing?
people from lower social positions like the
Yes.
serfs in this particular
They
case.
don't have any rights. This is the Magna Carta is not about them. This Magna Carta is about the people around this table. All right, perfect. Fiorella, do you have anything to add?
They're all white. There's no black people
Yeah. Okay.
or indigenous.
This is for noble Englishmen. This is just noble Englishmen. No other groups of people are granted any rights. They don't deserve any rights. It's just for us to have an understanding about what the king can do and what the king cannot do, and that we all abide by these rules in order to not have a civil war, especially when France is over there and we really hate the French. Let's make a pact between ourselves and things like that. All right, perfect, very good. No women, no poor people, no powerless people, no landless people. Very good. Excellent. Now, quick exercise, which I'm going to make it even easier. I'm going to put it like this. Control C, Control V, and then we can upload all of these class notes. And then I go here and I go Control and then I go all right, perfect. Raise your hand. These are questions, and these are the questions that we're going to use next class. So as many ideas as you can throw in, the better, because these are the things that we're going to use for essay practice and essay making. And they're all related to Magna Carta in some way, shape, or form. So let's do it. Whatever comes to mind, whatever you can think of. Question
Professor?
number 1. Yes.
Question number 2 is who gets to decide that? And it was thrown like a little lower.
Oh, so I mix them all.
Yeah, but that's the only one. That's the only one. The rest is fine.
So this
Yeah, this is the second one.
needs to be
And the
here.
rest is, yeah, the rest is fine.
All right. Thank you very much. You see, this is why Miss Garcia is the encargada de cátedra. She's the one that actually knows what we're talking about. I just pretend to know. All right. So, question number 1. How can people limit the power of the rulers? We're no longer talking about only about Magna Carta. Veronica.
I cannot think of another answer but violence or threat of violence.
All right. Good. That is a way to limit to when no other alternatives are present. That is a valid response. How can people limit the power of the rulers? Any other ideas? Ludmila, go ahead.
By also threatening to withdraw support.
Threat of withdrawal of support. Isaac.
Maybe protesting?
Protesting.
Maybe peaceful
Wait,
protesting.
sorry. My writing is horrible. Protesting. I'm just gonna put protesting. It can be peaceful, it can be whatever. All right. Federico.
Dividing the powers of the state.
The basis of the modern state. All right, perfect. Very good. Anybody else want to add something to the first question? Federico, you have another idea or you forgot to lower your hand? All right, perfect. Next one. So, how can people limit the power of the rulers was the question number 1. And the question that continues from that question number 1 is who gets to decide how power is limited? Who gets to decide how power is limited today? Adriana, I can't hear you. There is a problem with your microphone. Maybe you need to select a microphone or something like that. Sorry. I cannot hear you. All right. In the meantime, while you check if you have the correct microphone or whatever, I'm gonna ask Fiorella.
Everyone shall decide that, or do you mean who does decide it
Who
nowadays?
who decides what is allowed to limit the power of rulers?
Oh, everyone shall decide that. No, no exclusion, no exception. Everyone should do it.
All right. Is that often the case though? Not really a question for Fiorella anymore, but Fiorella, if you'd like to answer. All right.
No.
Adriana, want to try again?
Yes,
I
Professor,
can hear you. Yay. Great.
and the governors or the people that are in charge of the government.
What does this mean? It means that if the people in government decide that protesting is illegal, then then it's nothing you can do. Araceli?
Yeah, the people like reaching for an agreement. The people, the town.
Like for specific things, like for example, what is allowed in a specific city? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
All right. Mateo.
Yeah, politicians enter in the category that Adriana mentioned, right?
Yes.
Politicians. In that case, rich people, like people with money.
How?
Did you ask me that? Yeah, and with
Yes.
their influence, like the influence that their money provides.
Perfect. Luzmilia.
Yes, so building on what they were saying, basically lobbyists, people who have money, but also having a caveat for a referendum of some sort. Like there are people that have been chosen to be empowered and represent the entire participants of the society, and those people should be in charge of making the decisions. But if those decisions do not benefit the entire population, the populace should also have some sort of protection to be able to uh, come and challenge that. So referendum.
Yes. Okay, perfect. All right, Camila.
I wanted to add, since Mateo said rich people, also farmers, because they produce all the food surplus for the town, and this will also make money for them. So
You mean farmers?
yeah,
Okay. Aren't farmers also rich people?
maybe.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Interesting perspective. All right, perfect. All right. I think we have good enough topics for next class. Now, this is something that we've answered several times. And this is a question for in 1215. Who are they talking about? Who are they talking about? Like, if a free man dies for a trivial offense, no Scottish or aid, or who are they talking about? Camila?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Mateo?
Men who own land.
Men who own land. I'm just gonna go ahead and also men with power. Military. Financial. And influence. Right. Any other idea? Or are we sure we covered? Who are we? We're missing one person specifically here. Camila?
The king?
The king, yes. We're putting limits on the king. However, they just also put limits on themselves. Now, next one. More of a start getting your brain juices flowing. What is the practical benefits of having your rules in a piece of paper? Valeria.
I would guess you have a base and you can if someone's not respecting that, you can say no, you're not going, you're going against this. We already agree on this. But it also, you have to be very specific because it can open a gray area where people can adjust whatever they're doing to fit in there.
Yes. It depends on the actual writing of the rules. Any other benefit to writing rules that you guys can think of? Why do we have a constitution instead of just an oral tradition? Isaac?
So that we can preserve it, to preserve information or laws.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
a lot of information is lost orally. Mateo?
So that people don't twist like the laws that were already made.
Perfect. We know what the text says and everybody can see what the text says. Very good. Excellent. Anybody else? Any other ideas? All right. Good for now. Why is Magna Carta relevant today? Mateo?
Sorry, I didn't
I
lower
caught
my
you.
hand.
All right. Why is Magna Carta relevant today? Who paid attention? I mentioned several times how Magna Carta is relevant today. Valeria, go ahead.
It served as a base for, like, how do I say this? Coartar el poder del rey or of governors. Like they just didn't have the power to do whatever they wanted. They had
Yes.
some rules as well. So I think
Yes.
it set the pace for that.
The original. Ludmila.
It established principles that are still used today in judicial systems.
Fantastic. Veronica.
I was going to say the same as media.
Can you think of something very quickly? You still get the participation because you tried. All right. Perfect. All right. And anybody else? Any other current relevance of Magna Carta, especially maybe after the two world wars? I don't know who raised their hand first, but I'm gonna say Maria.
It was a base for human rights.
All right, perfect. Veronica?
I don't know if this is right, but also points out which country is under a dictatorship.
What do you mean?
Mostly in dictatorships, these human rights are violated. I don't know if it's like a base for. I'm not sure how to word it. Sorry. I'm going to
Yes,
think.
it serves as a base for how things are supposed to be, so it helps
Mhm.
us identify when things are not working as they are supposed to be. Mateo?
It separated the church and the government.
Valeria?
Yes, I was going to say the same as Mateo, but also the property rights, it established them.
Perfect. All right, good. I think we have a chunky bit of ideas there that we can use next class. Now, does anybody know what de facto and de jure mean? Besides Miss Garcia, obviously, and me, obviously. Okay, so for this one, I think we're going to leave open. I'm still going to explain what de facto means. De facto is, for example, de facto power. It means who in reality has power. Will make more sense when I explain what de jure means. De jure power. Who in writing or in theory has power. So, for example, if anybody has seen Game of Thrones, the thing with the king, the priest, and the someone else, I don't, the maester, and the mercenary with the sword. The jure power is held obviously by the king, the divine right of the king. De facto, the power is held by the man with the sword. The man with the sword is the one who is going to decide who lives and who dies. So there is a difference between de facto power, like in fact, in reality, who has power, and the jure power, who is in writing or in theory or by tradition supposed to have that power. I am using power here as an example, but it doesn't necessarily need to be power itself. It can be, for example, ownership. Like I have a title, a deed to a place, and it has my name on it, and it has the address of the place, and it has all of the characteristics of the place, saying I am the owner. But there is a family living there, and I cannot live there in the property that I own. De jure, I own that house. De facto, I don't own that house. Does that make sense? All right, perfect. We're gonna leave it like that for now. We this is something that we started seeing a little bit with the plow and the eye for an eye discussion, but it is a concept that we want to push forward because it's going to come up a lot with the British Empire and in British history. What is it that we call civilized and what is it that we call uncivilized? Or what do we understand by those two things? Adriana.
Civilized people have rules for their society.
Lumilia.
Yes, I just want to say that in a book that I was reading for seventh grade history class, there are some characteristics that are mentioned specifically for what's considered markers of civilization. And it talks
Interesting.
about, it's five of them, and I don't remember all five, but one of them was writing. And the other one that I remember was specialization, like
What,
specialized
sorry?
workers.
Specialization.
Writing, yes.
Yes, but the second one was a
Specialization,
specialization.
yes. Complex institutions, the presence of complex institutions for economy, government, religion, and also because this was talking about the birth of civilization, like in prehistoric times, it also mentions cities, having built cities. And the fifth one, I don't remember right now.
Doesn't
But it
matter.
was five
This is
specific.
all amazing that you remember this from seventh grade. All right, great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lumilia. I have civilized people. If you want, but still, if you want to ask more for civilized or uncivilized, I think Estrella raised her hand first.
Okay, and in my opinion, it will be regarding the behavior, but in the way that people you cannot reason with to come to an agreement. Like they resort to dirty deeds to fulfill their wishes, let's say. Like to not have another, to be open minded to see other perspectives.
Okay, all right. Isaac.
I would say the presence of social class.
Is a marker of what? Civilized or uncivilized people?
Of civilized. Yeah.
I would argue against that, for example. The barbarians and their slaves, for example. They have two very distinct social classes, for
Oh,
example.
okay.
So, but the idea is there. It can be explored further. Juan Carlos.
I'm not actually sure, but as far as I understood, if I understood well, that they have the same religion as you, religious affiliation.
To justify calling people civilized or uncivilized, yes. Okay. This is one of the um this is one of the reasons why the Spanish were very legalistic in their way they approach the colonies. Like you get off the boat, you pull out a text, and there's a bunch of natives there. You read the text that they are now la 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 in the presence of God and la 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 with the representative, the king, King Charles, the whatever, ta 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 ta. So they are now subjects of ta 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 ta. And the natives don't understand anything, obviously, because they don't understand Spanish. But you have read the the thing and they now need to convert or they need to die. That's the law that is being presented to the natives there who don't even speak Spanish. Araceli.
Yes, just regarding what Juan Carlos said, I mean the strong presence of religion, like they had gods and also the how they respect their values, like the respect, the revenge, or the love.
Okay, all right, but people who went on a Viking also had like very strong attachment to their customs and their religions and their values. This is not a criticism of your argument. This is just, would you say that uh Nordic peoples who went on a Viking were more or less civilized than what we are today, based on
Well,
just the religion? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
no, I say less, obviously.
Yes, so it has to be it has you have to add, if you're using this in an essay, you have to add the caveat, and or you have to explain, or you have to argue in a way that rules out any possible counter arguments like the one that I just made. All right, so we established the rule of law. We signed the Magna Carta. The king is no longer omnipotent. What is the progression then of this concept? Helen.
I wrote down that first with the Magna Carta, the laws first started just for benefit some groups, but they also help in other areas. For example, help the protection of the church, could be.
Uh-huh. So
And
originally to protect the
just the
rights of
privileged
a
people.
minority. Uh-huh. Of a privileged minority.
Yeah, like yeah. And also wanted to add, like in the part that like there is presence of social class. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I think Isaac wanted to establish that like the privileged people thought that like the poor people, the slaves were like the uncivilized, and then the other were the civilized.
Okay.
Just that.
All right. Are human rights inherent? Are you, for being a human, do you automatically have rights? Yes or no?
Now or then?
Why are you making that question? I just asked, do you, for being born as a human, do you have rights? That was the question. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously I'm talking about inherent human rights. So I'm talking about the Declaration of Human Rights in this case. But yes, I'm gonna go in order. I don't know who raised their hand first. I'm just gonna go in the order you appear to me. Juan Carlos, go ahead.
I think we have always have the human rights, but it was just a matter of it wasn't declared until the 1948, a little after the Second World War. It just took a while to be accepted internationally.
How did we have rights if they weren't enforced? Would be my counter argument there. But you don't need to answer that. Don't worry, Fiorella.
I don't know if it makes sense, but in some countries, I think if a baby was born a girl, she was
Mm-hmm.
killed. Especially with powerful families,
Mm-hmm.
because only the king has to be male. So if it's
Yes.
a baby girl, it can be a king.
Yeah. I think China had that policy, but they don't no longer have that policy anymore. Also,
Hmm.
now they need people. Valeria.
Um, Human rights obviously should be inherent, but speaking as of today, with all the wars that are going on, such as Russia and Ukraine, or the is everything that's going on Gaza,
Mm-hmm.
all those crimes that are committed towards civilians are mm, are just going against the human rights. So are they really inherent?
All right.
There's there still are as well some ethical cleansings, such as the Uyghurs that's going
Yeah.
on in China, I think, and others.
All war crimes. All fall under the category of war crimes. Not to diminish the horrific nature of all kinds of war crimes, but they all fall under the category of war crimes. Ludmila.
Rights, by just what they are man given, and if they're man given, they're not an inherent characteristic to humans. And so once you establish a right, you can establish that all humans as equals should get them, but they are not something that already existed alongside humanity. Humanity made it up. And also on the China point, yeah, they're still suffering the consequences, and so is Myanmar and the entire region where they are stealing brides from. And it's not permitted for them to know the gender of their babies before they are born. So that's why they kill the girls when they are born. They
Wow.
cannot
Okay, that's new
her
info I wasn't expecting today, but okay. But yeah.
we learn, yes.
Veronica and then Valeria.
I want to add something to the they should be, but I don't think war crimes or extreme cases should be the only ones present there. There's also access to clean water, access to food, education, and they are not, we don't have them in our country. We don't have them in first world countries even because of the disparidad económica. Just that.
Yes. Valeria.
Yes, so just a conclusion on which I came about with all of this. At the end of the day, your rights are more inherent if you have any type of power, such as financial, military, or anything. And if not, they could be hindered.
All right. Adriana.
And to add to that point, I don't think only power could be the thing, but also the social class you are born in, whether you're a man or female or a person of color or you are white, also make you more inherent to rights in some countries and some places. Like right now in our country, a lot of indigenous people and don't have access to what Veronica said, like clean water or laws or a lot of things only because they are born in a specific class. So yeah, I don't think only power is what matters, but also everything else.
But isn't all of those things you mentioned also connected to power? Aren't those intersectional? We're going to talk about intersectionality in other classes, don't worry. But all of those things are in a way connected, so to speak. But yes, your specific characteristics can determine the amount of power or access to basic human rights. Current. All right. I don't know what this is. Profe, Miss Garcia?
Yeah, customary laws are the type of law that gives you a trial by a jury of your peers. We have a positivist system where we take the law by the letter of the law. Customary
Yeah.
laws are the ones that are off the land, and your peers are the ones that judge you rather than a judge.
So, very quickly, which one do you think is better? Or, Fiorella, whatever it is you were going to say.
One thing could be, for example, if a criminal is friends with policemen, they forgive him, and that is wrong. Or he just gets a small punishment compared
Yeah, I'm
to.
just thinking of how to umbrella it. Undeserved privilege. Andres.
Yeah, just to add to what Carola say is if you have a jury by land, it's you are biased. The law is biased. If the jury by land doesn't like you or likes you, the outcome of the judgment can change.
So
I
it's more about, in your opinion, it's more about charisma and swaying people more than it is about the letter of the law.
Yeah, so even to this, even now that we have like justice systems that are supposed to be working by paper, some juries or some judges are biased, even if they don't really see it. If they subconsciously like the one that they are supposed to be judging, they can go softer on him without even realizing it.
We don't have a jury system. Just so everybody knows, there is no juries in Paraguay. We have the letter of the law and the interpretation of the law made by people who studied that, lawyers, judges, etc. And it's just about arguing about the interpretation of the law and the whether the specific characteristics of the events that happen adjust or not to the specific characteristics that the law says should be punished or not. That's the way things are argued here, I believe, unless someone wants to correct me because I could be wrong. All right. I think we have a good amount of ideas because you are going to be using these ideas to write thesis statements. Professor Garcia, am I correct?
Yes, next
All
week.
right, so we're going to be using, sorry for interrupting you, but we're going to be using these ideas to practice writing thesis statements correctly in a way that you can use to, with your thesis statement, already in a way have your whole essay planned out. Right? That's what we're going to do next class. And we're going to upload this thing, the presentation. We're gonna see his face again. You're gonna see it in the platform. We're gonna upload this general feedback. We're not gonna upload a specific individual feedback yet because there's a lot that we have to go through. And we're gonna add these notes because these notes we're going to use next class. All right? Everybody on the same page? All right. It was great seeing you. If we seeing you, Federico, just go ahead.
Won't you call attendance?
When we use Zoom, it is very convenient because we don't really need to call attendance because we have everybody's names. We have the second they joined in, how many minutes they were here, how many times they connected and disconnected. So I can literally just download a meeting log. If this is being recorded, so that's where I'm going to stop. All right.
Thank you.
I just don't see the need to call attendance if you are using a sort of platform. All right, let's leave it at that. All right. So great. It was nice to see you guys and looking forward to seeing you in person and practicing essays and getting ready for next assignments next class. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank you,
Bye,
Professor.
Professor. Bye.
guys.
Bye-bye.
That
Take
was
care.
thanks.
Miss